This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So we're going over when the designer mode is not supported and editor mode is only.
Yeah, now I cannot see your screen.
You can see. 1 minute.
Okay.
You see now?
Yeah.
So there's a comment that we got that basically there is a mode where only the editor mode is supported, but not designer mode. Okay. So when is designer mode supported? Designer mode is supported when when we have a package, and within that package, we're defining the JSON files for the main JSON file. Okay, so this is an example of a JSON file. So in this case, you can do drag and drop. Okay, and you can support a designer mode view for this whenever you have a JSON file. If your definitions file doesn't have a JSON file and it has a Kotlin file, a KT file, then for those use cases, we don't want to display the designer mode. All we want to display is the developer editor mode, because that's the mode that the users are working on.
So let me told you what I got so far. You mean we are loading two different files. If we have this, we will have the designer, the JSON file. And if we have the other one, we will only have the configuration screens without the designer.
Right. How do you know this? You can check there's in our packages we have Tosca metadata. In Tosca metadata we have a Tosca meta. In Tosca meta there's an entry point for definition. Okay. If the definition ends with a .json, then you'll have a mode where you can have a designer. If it ends with anything else but .json, then it's only file folder mode.
I think I'm lost in here. Are we uploading a file in the metadata that will define if we're having a designer or not?
This is a required folder.
So that's a new requirement, right?
No, Tosca metadata is there. If you look at the Tosca metadata we have.
I mean on our screen.
We have, you know how it's mapped to the metadata section? If you look at definitions, you see this metadata section here?
Yes.
This section is the same thing as you have here, Tosca metadata.
Can you show it me on the prototype? Just to
get the current UI?
Yes.
Here we go.
It's already opened, and I mean in my prototype.
This one. Oh, you mean in yours? In yours? Okay, 1 second.
You can just click on the bottom bar, and you can see all the screens. Just need if you click on the arrow next to the DSL, the bottom. Yes, and the DSL.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here.
Can you show me the scenario from the beginning to reach the point you're talking about now?
So let me go back from a folder perspective, right? So folder perspective, we have Tosca metadata, template, scripts, plans, and definitions. The Tosca metadata has a file called tosca.meta, and in this file we have something called entry definition. All this is saying when you have entry definition, the entry definition is pointing us which definitions file here is the main blueprint file. It's VLB-CDS.json in this case. So in here, what we when we have VLB.json CDS, if it's a JSON file, then we support the designer mode and we support everything as designer mode. If not,
yeah, I see that, but I don't see where to get this from the interface.
Where to get this
Yes.
information?
This definition.
So this definition, your question is where do we need to define this, right? Probably
On the screen, on the interface.
on the interface screen. One second, I'll tell you where we need to put it. We will put it over here on our main metadata screen. Where is it? Where's our metadata screen? So metadata, this one. Here. You have your topology.
Yes.
It will be the name. We should have definition, name, version, and that's it. I think this is not the latest one.
Yeah, we are. You can
That's
see.
something much.
Yeah. The outdated one. Yeah. This is the one, and the next row at the end. No, the previous row.
انا ما طلبتش منه قبل كده والله.
No, this one.
Yeah.
بقول لك ايه؟
So here you have name, version, tags, and we need to also add definition.
Yes, that was.
Maybe we can, what you can, just put definitions
talking
here.
about this. I think we are talking about something we have in the screen. That's why I got confused. So we'll add an input for the definition, and we will upload a file, whether it's JSON file or what type, what other type.
ودلوقتي بقت مش صادق بقت ايه؟
Right. We need to add entry form, entry definition.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, so right now just add entry definition.
Okay.
And then I'll get back to you because what I'm thinking I'm going to tell Brenda is that all this information we have here in this metadata section, I'm going to put in this file section itself.
Will be what?
I want to transfer all the metadata to here, to this section. So this section in the main JSON file we won't need. It will be just this metadata file itself.
Upload the entry definition file.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that our main JSON file will no longer have metadata defined in the VLB.json. It will be just starting with like this. I'll talk to Brenda about that and see what he says and let you know. But for now, for our screens, what you want to make sure we have is the entry definitions.
Okay.
Okay.
That's an input to upload files.
It's an input. So you can either extract it from Tosca.meta file in the Tosca folder, or somebody can manually enter that information. Okay, so if you import it, then you get it from Tosca.meta file itself.
Okay. Okay. Whether to import it or to just enter the information inside this file.
Right. So if somebody, let's say somebody doesn't do an import, they want to do new, then they will have to define what is the entry definition.
It's only one file, right?
It's only one file, yes.
Yeah. So it's whether JSON or what, the other file?
So if it ends with .json, then you support the designer mode. If it doesn't end with .json, then you support only the folder mode, the editor mode.
the configuration. So the button of the typology view will not be available until we define this in the metadata.
Absolutely. Don't make this available until the metadata is defined.
Okay.
In fact, do we want to take this section and put it on top?
I will view it again as long as there's an input that depend on the PIDO form.
Because what I think we should do is that somehow we should always, for all our screens, make sure that the user knows what name and version of the package is.
Okay.
You know what, and the author, right? You know what I'm trying to say. If I go to the screen, I want to make sure that I always have that information present.
Mhm.
Everything below that will be the other configuration file.
Okay.
Like here,
I
you
wanna
see,
make
like
sure
here you
about-
have.
Yes.
This is perfect. This section here, if we can somehow make sure all our screens have that captured as well, so they don't lose sight of what package they're working on.
But it's still the same. It's just changing the colors. That's still the same design we have now.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is the author, email, user groups, and the package name. We should make sure that cascaded to all the screens. Some section needs to provide this information, because if you don't provide this information, we lose the context of what this is.
Okay, that was my question. Are these information not coming from the user who created the package, or should I?
Yes.
Should the user should enter it inside a form?
Can you say that one more time, sir? I
I
missed the
thought that
question.
I thought that the author name and the email and user groups just automatically getting from the user who created the package. I don't have to enter it in the form.
That's okay. That's fine. All I'm saying is that when you go to the designer mode, right, make sure that we cascade this information so the user
I see.
has all that information. What is the package name? What is the version of the package, the author, just so that they don't lose sight of that. Because if I'm here, I don't know what package name I'm working on.
The package name is just listed in the breadcrumb on the top.
Where is it listed?
As you can see, the CPA packages in the top.
On the top?
Yes, in the left.
Yes.
The top left. Yeah. The next one is the
Topology?
yeah,
This
yeah.
one?
Yes.
Okay.
But if you
Okay,
need other information, I can add it. I can add info button that user can see the other info. But let me make sure that you wanted to see the author name, but the author name and email and user group. What other information you wanted to see in here?
Mainly my thing would be name, version, and tags. That's it.
Name, version.
So if you have
tags, not types.
maybe name and version would be good enough. Name and version, and maybe author. That's it. Those three things, if we can have somewhere like an info tab for all our screens, it should be consistent so that they know what they're working on.
Okay. The top part is just fixed, not the user can see it in all tabs.
Yes.
Okay. But
So going back to the main point is that if that entry definition, right, this entry definition is a .json, we support designer mode. If it's not .json, we only support folder mode, folder editor mode with folder and file.
Okay.
That's the main point. So let me, okay, so that was one thing. The other thing we quickly covered was that implementation right now it's not captured in the screen, so we want to make sure that this is captured as well later on. Okay, and then there's another point he made, is that today all our data dictionaries, we only work on one specific library, okay? It's the starter types library. You know how currently we said we're going to have multiple libraries supported?
Can you show
Data dictionary?
the prototype? Okay.
1 second. Here. Where's the dictionary? Controller resource catalog, right? Resource catalog is data dictionary. Okay, so you remember we said no. The resource catalog is not digital. So here, remember you have AT&T Open Config. You can have a different library in data dictionary, right?
Yes.
So you can have multiple libraries. So
Yes.
the point here is that when in our CBA packages, when we do enrich, right, we have to have a section where we can define which library we are going to use for all our mapping, mapping, when we do all our auto mapping. So right now, by default, we only go to a single library, which is starter data types, but we need to enable like a configuration as part of the CBA to allow the users to enter which library they're planning to use for the CBA enrichment. Okay, so essentially what we need to do is allow the user to select a screen that will allow the users to select from which library they want to support the auto mapping from.
Mm-hmm. From the packages.
For each package, yes. For each package, basically we have to give them an option that says, are you going to use AT&T library, or are you going to use OpenConfig library, or are you using some other type of library itself?
Okay.
Okay, so that was the other comment.
Do you want to specify this from the creation? The early
Yes, as
stages?
part of creation. So when we do CBA, when you create it, one of the so you provide the metadata section, and then we should also have a section that kind of tells us which for our auto mapping for data dictionary, where it is the configuration library that we're planning to support.
Okay. Can we add it to the metadata, or just?
I think so. I think it shouldn't be under metadata. It should be like a separate. I believe it should be a separate section. But let me show you 1 second. Where's metadata?
Again, the next row, the last one.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm thinking for now we can. Okay. So for now, let's say that we have one more section that defines this, right? Configuration. So let's do that for now, because I have to see exactly where Brenda is going to add this specification. Is he going to add it? I think it's just configuration. So maybe we can have just some sort of dictionary configuration or a mapping configuration.
Mapping? Yes, I think mapping is more clear. It's clearer than the other one. Okay. So we'll have metadata and mapping imports and external system.
Right, and these two things, before you can proceed to any other screen, you have to fill out those two things, okay? Metadata and this mapping thing. Okay, so those are required. So from step 1, step 2 perspective, those two will be required, and then you can go to topology and imports and external systems, everything else. Okay, makes sense? Any questions on that one?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so there's one more thing. There's one more thing.
Mhm.
So when we have our scripts, okay, I don't know if you can enforce this, but when we have our scripts, in our scripts, there's a package section that needs to be defined. You see here? And this package section needs to be based on the it should be defined based on the CBA name. So for example, if our CBA name in this example, let's see, what is our CBA name? In this example, it's VLB CDS, right? So our script should start with cba.vlb.cds Kotlin. Oh, not Kotlin, just like this.
Okay,
Like
that
this.
one.
cba.v. I don't know if you can enforce it or the backend should enforce that. Maybe it's more of a backend thing, but
I
can enforce
think I
it.
can add it on the screen, just a text. Just a text. Yes.
Oh, you can when they
Just
add
add
the
it.
script, right?
Yes, like a placeholder in the input.
Okay. So it's this because this definition is inside the script itself. It's not. It's inside the script. It's not like outside of the script. It's not part of the component definition. It's inside of the. It's a file. It's inside the file of the script that needs to follow this convention.
Okay, the thing I can do is just to add it in the input, but it's a backend concern.
Yeah, I think it's more of a backend as well. Okay, so maybe I'll have to bring that back as well. So the question here is, can the backend validation enforce this convention for CBA?
We'll have it on the packages list.
The packages we can have multiple scripts.
Package one dot the remaining name, the VLB
It's package. It's going to be package CBA,
Okay.
and then if you have, let's say, VLB CDS underscore CDS, right? It should be dot. It shouldn't be underscore. So anything that's like a underscore or a hyphen will be represented as a dot.
Ah, okay.
That's the way. All right. So what else did I have? So designer mode we talked about. We talked about the data dictionary library selection, mapping library selection, and I think that's about it. So the only thing I wanted to ask you, Sarah, are you able to make any progress with the whole? Remember how we talked about supporting the mapping screen?
Actually, I'm working on the designer view. That's main part for me for now. I can show you some of the work if you wanted to see it now as an HTML.
Sure, go ahead. Should I stop the recording?
No need.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Here is it so far. But let me. It will be. This is the main interface of the designer. But as you can see, it's full of. It has one action and multiple components.
Right.
And here is the action and function list here. If you click on on any component, it will appear the attributes in here, but of course the forms is not just not placed yet.
Okay, so the component should give you the component attributes. The
Yes.
action gives you the action attributes.
Of course, yes.
Okay. And then what about the, do we support chaining of actions, like action one is calling another action?
Yes, but just the interface. I think if the Brenda Arunati, it's that's her concern.
Okay, I see. So this is HTML for Arunati, right?
Yes, and of course we have here the zoom in and zoom out. You can see all the actions in one screen.
I see.
But of
Very
course
good.
it will be just smaller.
This is great.
Okay, the last thing is just to place the forms in here. I will add all forms of all node types, attributes, as we mentioned before.
Okay.
Okay.
And let me ask you this:
Yes.
will this be available for in Gerrit soon?
In what?
Will this be patched? Is this patched already? Is this something that Ahmed and or
Not yet. Ahmed and Shaban are not inside this this page. This is Arunati work. I think we should once I finish this we should merge our work together.
Right. So what I'm trying to say, how can is this something that Ahmed and Shaban can merge so that Arunati can see these screens?
Okay, but once I finish the forms and the action attributes, I will just merge it to our code here, and they can consider it as a step to merge it with Arunati work.
Perfect. That will be perfect. Yeah, because I have Arunati for maybe the next 2 weeks. So she's gonna be off the project after the 29th. So I want to see if we can get her these screens as soon as possible so that we can finalize the integration point.
And here is another view. That's only the components and actions.
Okay, this looks great. Can you show me also the main screen? Do you have the main screen layout?
Yeah, do you mean the packages?
Yeah.
Okay. This is one that I have, but I don't have the backend in my laptop. But you can see it with Shaban or Ahmed.
Okay, no, this looks good. So
I mean
it's
that we don't have here any packages that's related to
right. That's okay, no problem. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else,
I'll
Sarah?
just no, nothing. I'll just finish with the designer and then move on to the comments for today.
Okay, that will be perfect. And so the once you get through that, the next thing we want to tackle is that mapping section and template section.
Okay.
So, okay, I did. Yeah. I'll share some other stuff with you because I think one of the functionalities. I don't know if we had a discussion with. Remember when we had our discussion? How do we support template mappings and just adding templates. And Ahmed recommended maybe should be a separate section, outside of the topology, designer mode of that topology management, right? So if you get to that part of what we're trying to do there, just let me know what are the proposals so that we can finalize on that as well.
Yeah, I just postponed the decision on it until I start working on this part.
Yeah. No, this makes sense. Okay. All right. Anything else, Sarah?
No, nothing. Sorry.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording and I'll send this out to you as soon as I get the